What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Backpacking Podcast. As always, John Kelly here with Jeremiah, Jerome Stringer, the king of Kentucky backpacking. We are brought to you by Outdoor Vitals, makers of performance-first ultralight gear. And Jeremiah, what do you think about the heavy metal intro for the podcast tonight?
I think I got the perfect outfit on for the heavy metal. It was on accident, too.
I know, that's so funny. Jeremiah gets on tonight, we're talking, and he says, he comes on, I said, man, you look like a 70s rocker. And then I played him the music, and he's like, did you plan this? Some things just happen the way they should.
I actually had a massage today, and the first thing that my masseuse said when I walked in was, "Oh, you're born in the wrong era. Look at you, hippy dippy boy today."
Hippy dippy boy, that's great. Well, first off, hey, I want to say welcome to everybody. First live stream back for the season. We're season number 7, and we're going to kick it off in style here in just a little bit. But I do want to give a big shout out to Outdoor Vitals, our title sponsors for the show. And right now, they are doing a sale on this very thing that I'm wearing right now. And Jeremiah, I don't know about you, but sometimes when you're out hiking, and it's not like the coldest weather, but it's not warm, and you've got that wind blowing, sometimes it's nice to just have something to break the wind. And I'm not talking about flagellants. I'm talking about this lightweight jacket right here. This is the Nebo Windbreaker, and it's on sale for up to 22% off this week on OutdoorVitals.com. So make sure you guys go check that out. Jeremiah, tell me a little bit about what's going on right now.
Oh, man. Got to have lunch with Mr. Backpacking with Jason, sir. Just want to say shout out to him. I'm glad that he's doing well. He's actually back out on trail. Since we last spoke, man, what's going on? Just been reading some reviews from different parks. If you don't know what I'm talking about, make sure you check out last week's episode.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to say, if you are in the northern Kentucky, Ohio area, October the 11th, I believe, is that weekend, right? For the
October 11th through the 13th.
Yes. Please come see us, Red River Gorge, Hanson's Point, open to the public.
Come hang out. Hang out. There's going to be a bunch of YouTubers there. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. So we got a couple comments, Jeremiah. I want to throw these on here real quick because these are great. The very first one's Jeff Peters. He says, John likes to break like the wind. And Ben McMillan, he's already starting. He goes, did you guys have Mountain House meals?
Oh, bro.
That'll make you break wind every time. Every time.
Oh, man.
Jeremiah, I think it's time that we get to the important stuff.
Oh, my gosh. We got a very important guest here tonight.
We have a very important guest with us tonight. She is not only a thru hiker of the Appalachian Trail, the almighty Appalachian Trail. She is also an author and a comedian. And Jeremiah, she is gracing us with her presence tonight. And we get the honor of having Miss Sally Chaffin Brooks with us right here on the podcast. Our studio audience isn't that big, but it's getting there.
Thank you for recognizing that I am an important guest. I really appreciate that. I'm glad you got my email and that you went ahead. I did pay you guys well to say that, but thank you so much.
Yeah, your people called our people and told us if we didn't say that, there would be a lawsuit. And we just didn't want to get into all that. So we were like, okay, you got it.
You're like, we're a podcast. You're like, we don't play. We don't play. Well, thank you guys for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, we're glad to have you on here. So I got a question for you.
Okay.
I got a question for you. Has anybody ever had you read bad comments, like bad reviews on like restaurants or on like rides or movies or anything like that?
I mean, it's so fun. It's so fun. So I have a podcast as well called The Ridiculous, and we find lists all across the internet, and we have done several lists of like the craziest comments on restaurants, so the craziest comments on just like, toilet paper. And those are, there's nothing that brings me more joy than wild comments on things like that.
Then we've got the game for you right now.
Yes.
We got a little game that we're going to call This versus That. yeah, that's right. We have fancy music for all of our little segments in this show.
And graphics.
And graphics.
Pointing.
Oh, yeah. Like really beautiful people. Really beautiful people. We only get the best.
Yes, those
for
are
our
some
podcast.
stock images.
Stock beauty. Nothing
Yep.
like it. Nothing like it. Okay, so the way this game's going to work is real simple. We're going to ask you, and for the studio audience, you guys also, make sure you leave your comments and see if you can guess the correct answers for these questions. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to read to you I'm going to read you 2 reviews to 3 different parks. One review is an actual review. The other one, I made up.
Okay.
You have to be able to guess which one's right or wrong. So we'll say, I asked both of you to have a piece of paper and something to write with. So all you're going to put is A or B. Okay?
Okay.
If it's the first one, it's A. If it's the second one, it's B. I think that makes sense. So I think we can do that.
Which one is real or which one is you?
Just which one you think is real.
Okay.
Which one you think is real, you put A or B. So if it's the first or second one, that's what you're going to do. And I'm going to make you guys real big, and I'm going to make myself real small so people can actually see what you guys are doing here. Okay? So let's get to these questions or these comments and see what you think. The first one is from Death Valley National Park in California and Nevada. And the first comment is, it was boring. A ghost town, really. I was charged $23 a night just to be harassed by snake while walking around.
Okay.
I believe somebody wrote that. I believe.
Here's
you
the next
could have
one.
made it up, but I would believe somebody wrote that.
This one is, who wants to drive 36 hours to see an old town with no restaurants and 100-degree temperatures? Total waste.
I also could believe
right.
somebody said that, but I'm going with my instinct.
Okay. Oh, she's going A. She went hard. She didn't even wait, Jeremiah.
Oh, was there going to be sound?
No, you don't have to wait. You can show it right away. There's no rules.
Can you tell I'm competitive?
She
I'm
did.
ready
What's
to
yours,
take you
Jeremiah?
down,
Let's see it.
Mine
A.
is also A.
beautiful.
Let me tell you, I think it's A because I think that snake was supposed to be snakes. I don't know if my grammar's right there or not,
Ooh.
but I think I spotted a mistake made by a real person.
So the answer is A. You both get a point. Both get a point. All right. Our next national park is Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho. And again, we're going to read 2 comments. One is true, one is not. The first one, my kids were excited to meet Yogi Bear and Boo Boo. Obviously, that didn't happen.
Okay.
The next one, the whole place smelled like farts.
Wait, where is this at?
Yellowstone National Park.
It's B. I
It's
want it
going
to be B, and I believe it's B.
And you would both be correct. It is B. It is B.
Yes, for the farts. Yes.
All right. All right. So here's the last one. This is Glacier Bay National Park and Preserve in Alaska. Okay?
I've not been, but
Okay. The first one is, it's like some ice cubes got scattered on a hill.
Okay, that's a good comment.
The next one is, we didn't see one polar bear, not one bleeping polar bear. Alaska sucks.
ooh, I
I gotta
really,
think of it.
I could believe it's either one of those.
Oh, I think I got my answer. Let me know when you're ready, Sally.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
ready.
In
Are you
3,
ready?
2, 1, go.
I think the real one is.
Oh,
The-
this is gonna win.
I'm going to put up the real one.
Okay.
It's A. It's like some ice cubes got scattered on a hill.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
undefeated.
whoever that person is that wrote that, I want to be their friend because that's hilarious.
Oh man. Well,
Had it-
welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Jeremiah
That was
defeated
brilliant.
somebody. That rarely happens. Jeremiah usually gets beat pretty bad.
Congratulations.
Well-
You know what? I bow down to you. Great job.
Wow.
This, if it wasn't anything but pure luck, you would have won. Trust me.
I think
I
we
mean,
told
can
you
tell
before we
I'm
even got on.
competitive. I did ask beforehand. I was like, is there anything I can prepare? And you were like, no,
No.
you're fine.
There's no thinking involved in this. So.
Well, let me say this. Whenever I first heard about you, it was from this book. I know that you have your own podcast and you have a couple albums that are you're a stand-up comedian, but I have here Going to Maine. And did I read somewhere it is coming out September the 10th, or did I misread that?
Yeah.
Is it already out?
No, it's out tomorrow. Tomorrow's the day,
Oh,
you guys.
oh
You
my
got me
God.
early, so you can say you knew
Look at
me before.
woo before all the fame.
Before all the fame.
Before
I
all the
think that's
fame.
coming my
Look
way,
at
I'm
that.
sure.
I love it.
Well, I got to tell you, fantastic book. And I love, I don't know, I'll just tell you a quick story about this.
Okay.
I was needing a book, and I started reading your book, and my wife and I were getting really close to the delivery date for our baby. And that was July 8th. So just like 8 or 9 weeks ago. And
Yeah.
so this was actually my read. I would sit there. We had to stay in the hospital for 3 days. And I would sit there, my wife, try to let her get some sleep. I would put a pillow on my lap, and I'd lay the baby on the pillow, and above its head, I would read your book, and I just could not put it down. It was
Uh,
fantastic.
the book or the baby? Which one? No, both. I hope.
They're both great.
That is, I have to say, that is the highest compliment, and you have almost made me cry as a parent as well. I remember those things that you like, that I would watch while I was like nursing, or those early days when you can't sleep and you just have this brand new beautiful baby. And I still think of those things. I still have those memories of like the books I read and the TV shows I watched. So I think that is just the highest compliment, that you read my book when you had a new baby. And how are you doing? How is your wife doing? I should say.
Well, I think I get more sleep than she does. I'll tell you that.
Probably.
But everything is great. Baby is
Yeah.
great. And as for the
Congratulations.
book, well, thank you very much. As for the book, I love that you kept the chapters short, engaging, and had tons of cliffhangers. So I would urge you. You really thought, I could just tell by reading it, that there was real thought that was taken of, how do I keep the reader engaged? I don't know how many edits you went through and everything, but it's very evident that you work super hard. And I think that's something to be proud of. And I just want to say congratulations that you're putting it out there. And I think that tonight we'll probably get into some great stories that are in the book, and possibly even some that are not. But let me start with this. Did you
Okay.
keep a journal while you're out on the trail? Is that how you're able to go back and write the book? Because I think it was 03 was your thru hike.
Yeah.
So that's been a while. So I know
Yes.
some of those core memories, without something to kind of go back and latch onto, it's hard to remember some of that stuff.
I mean, I had started writing this book so long ago. I started writing it maybe in 2007, and just as like, just to kind of to remember everything. I wanted to go back and relive some of it, and I like to write and I like to do narratives. So, but I did keep journals, and pretty detailed. And also my best friend that I hiked with, she kept journals. So a lot of times if I was like, when did we do this and what happened here, she was able to piece it back in.
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah, I kind of was like, I have to finish this because I'm getting old, and it's been
You gotta
21 years
stop
since I
that.
hiked.
You gotta stop that getting old stuff. Stop that. Stop
I
that.
know, right? I should just quit. I just quit getting old and
Stop.
just
You're
go
not
back.
old. You're not old. You're not old. You're fine. You're fine.
But the memories of
Oh
those
yeah.
times are, they're not as sharp as they were.
Well,
But I do find with the journals, like, it's amazing. I can feel like I am right back there
well,
when I
and
read what I wrote on those days. I'm like, oh, it's like when you hear a song that you were listening to on the trail and you're just like back in it.
yeah, and you did all this before the smartphone.
Oh yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
whole thing. Like
I
the
often
smartphone
joke
didn't even
with
come out
people.
until 2007. I think is when the
Yeah. Oh
smartphone came
yeah.
out. So like you were doing this before. You didn't have a little camera that you were taking videos on constantly. They were uploading to the internet, and
No. Yeah, I think about that. I'm like, I think we were some of the last like classes of
yeah.
hikers that were like pre-smartphone, I mean, we had like, we would go to the libraries to email people. We were calling our friends on payphones. Like there were cell phones, but like they
No
didn't, no
signal.
service.
There's no
There was no,
signal.
yeah. There was no signal. I mean, you had to plug them in. They had no battery life. There was no we were using a Walkman to listen to tapes on the
Yeah.
trail. And, like,
Nice.
in my mind, it wasn't that long ago, but when I, like, write about it, I'm like, "Oh, this is, like, some vintage this is a vintage trail
Yes.
story." But, yeah, I think it must be so different now. The experience of through hiking must be so
Well,
different.
now when we go on those trails, we have our phones, we have our GPS, and we don't
Yeah.
have to carry paper maps and all that. But when you were doing this, you weren't carrying a GPS in your hand, right? You were you
No,
were you were with paper
I'm
maps and guidebooks and
Oh yeah, we had our trail book and we would, look and see where we were mileage wise and see where the trail stops were and look in the very back of the Wingfoot book and be like, are there any places we can go eat? Who will do a shuttle? I mean that's how you figured everything out. I don't know that I could do that today, but yeah, we really we really just we just trusted in people and just like had the experience. So yeah, it must be so different now. I'm sure just as amazing, but
oh yeah.
very different.
I
Yeah,
bet it was less crowded back then than what it is now.
certainly more less crowded. And we started early. We started in February, so we were some of the first through hikers of the season. So we were even more sparse. Like everybody we met was like, "Oh my god, you are the first women we've met," and we were like, "Yeah, we are. Yeah, we're very cool."
It's something gladly to claim. Whenever I was reading the book, speaking of, you don't have the GPS and stuff,
Mhm.
I won't give too much away, but at the beginning, you all start with like, the wrong direction, the wrong turn, and not having that GPS was a big deal. And I also want to know, since everything is like, I mean, there's no the technology is so different. The trail
Mhm.
journals is like the communication on trail. And I'll just give you a little bit of context. I know long-term listeners have heard a lot of my long trail stories, but you did the Appalachian Trail and it coincides with the long trail for a short piece whenever you get up to Vermont, like 100
Mhm.
miles or so. And
We
I
actually
did
did the
the,
long trail, the year like a couple years before. So before we did the AT, and that was my first long distance hiking experience, and I was like, "I will never do this again." When I hiked the long trail.
Except I'm gonna do it 10 times longer.
Except it was like having a child, like, I forgot, and then I just got back out there and was like, "Oh, right, this is why I didn't wanna do
I
this."
hate this, but I'm gonna keep going.
I keep going. But I'm sorry, Jeremiah, I interrupted you. So
oh,
you did the long trail too, which
Oh,
is,
we
that's
all interrupt
amazing.
Jeremiah. We all interrupt Jeremiah. That's okay. Don't worry about that.
yeah, as you should. No, basically,
Hey,
what I
by
was
the
getting
way,
at is,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
basically, what I was getting at is I found whenever I was through hiking the long trail, even though it only took me like, yeah, look at Chicken Little Tricks. Did I hike the long trail?
I like that.
But
Oh, here it is.
I found that even like, in, I think I done it 2018, 2019, something like that. So that was 15 or so years after your through hike. The trail journals was still like the communication hub of the
Yeah.
trail. And I'll give you a quick story similar to what you talk about, with being the first ladies and the people.
Mhm.
I want to hear some of your stories about the trail journals, but what happened with me was we were through hiking and we were some of the first, maybe a little bit illegal, allegedly. I won't say any specific dates, but there's like a mud season. You're only supposed to hike like a certain time start, a
Mhm.
certain time finish. And so we were right on the cusp. So we were like the first little bubble that come through there. And we would meet people like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks in, and they'd be like, "We have been reading about you all." They're like, "This is like meeting a celebrity," and you're not a celebrity, you're just
Yes.
like a random average person walking every day, but they're like 3 days behind you, and they've just been
Right.
seeing all your adventures and the community that you're a part of. I wanted to know, did you get a lot of the same whenever you're on the AT with the trail journals? Did you have any special experiences similar to what I was just describing, or anything cool with the trail journals in general?
I mean, I think, yes, we had the exact same experience that you're talking about, both like where we had been following people and we got excited when we finally met them. I remember there was a couple who their names were Just Ducky and Soft Serve. And of course, we're in our 20s at the time, and they were maybe 45, and they seemed like so cool and like older and knowledgeable. But we had been reading it. One of them, they were a couple, and one of them was a woman, and she was the first woman we had met. So we were very excited for her. And then we had people do that to us. But I think, without giving too much away about the book, but I think, the coolest thing that happened with the trail journals was that, we were like, I had heard about these two guys, one guy that we had been hiking with earlier in our hike, and then he was with another guy, and we heard they were like a couple weeks behind us. And I started leaving them messages in the trail journal. So I would be like, hey, I heard you were a couple days behind us. You guys should catch up. We're going to trail days, which is like a big hiker fest, right? I'm sure you guys know about trail days. So we were planning to go trail days. So we were like, we're going to go. You guys should come. We're here. And then I had heard that this one guy who I hadn't met, that he was moving to Chicago, and I had just moved from Chicago. So I was like, oh my gosh, you're going to love Chicago. I just started writing them notes for maybe like several weeks. And then when we finally met at trail days, he was like, I started calling him, his name was Ben. And then I started calling him best friend Ben. And then I called him BFB. And then when we met at trail days, he was like, oh my gosh, those are actually my initials. Like that's my initials. And I don't want to spoil it, but like, he was real cute. And it all started in the trail journals. So yeah, I mean, I think those are pretty cool things.
John,
That's
I
great.
think that they need to add trail journals on the Sheltoe Trace, which Sally, I don't think you're probably familiar with it, but it's a
No.
like 300 or 400 mile trail that goes through Kentucky, which is where John and I
Mm.
both live. And John has through hiked it.
Oh,
And
cool.
unfortunately, it doesn't have the same infrastructure that some of the more popular trails like the AT have.
The trail journal could happen, but it may be 3 weeks before anybody reads what you write.
It's a
Right. Yeah.
lonely
It's
trail.
So it's a little on the. It's not as highly traveled as the Appalachian Trail, if you know what I'm saying.
It's more like a message in a bottle.
Oh, I'm telling you, there were days that we would hike and see
Yeah.
nobody. I mean, nobody for days.
Oh yeah, that's
So-
amazing. I am surprised I haven't heard of the trail. I lived in Cincinnati for a long time and toured all around Kentucky. So I mean, I'm very familiar with like Red River Gorge and
Oh yeah, it goes
but
right
yeah,
through
I
the
didn't
Red
know
River
there was a
Gorge.
long trail.
Okay, so if
So
you've been to the Red River Gorge, did you ever
Mhm.
see the turtle trail signs on the trees?
Yes.
That's the
Yeah.
Sheltoe Trace.
Yeah,
Okay.
no,
So you've hiked it. Look at
I
you.
have. I mean, I.
Look
I
at
have
you. You knew. You knew.
I knew. I thought this was somewhere very exotic, but no.
She's like, I've been there, I've done that.
I've been
Yeah,
there.
I was curious because were you born and raised in Ohio?
I was born in South Carolina, but I was an Air Force brat, so we moved around a lot. But I went to high school in Ohio, so I call Ohio home. My dad lives there, and yeah.
I got you. Like
Yeah.
John's got another comment. Brian Wimberg, at one time on the Sheltoe Trace, yeah.
And then Ben McMillan follows it up with John made it up.
See, that's what I thought, Ben. I thought that this sounds suspicious.
I like to
Nobody
make
else
up
has heard
Indian
of this
names.
trail.
I like to make up Native American names and just create trail names.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well, I have a question kind of out of left field, but this is something I was very curious about.
Okay.
I don't know if the trail has a whole lot to do with it or not, but I want to hear firsthand. It seems like people, they have like a vision of how they want their life to go. And then you get older and it didn't exactly go as you planned. Doesn't mean it's good or bad, or it's just different. And I saw that you had started to become a lawyer. I don't know if you got a law degree or passed the bar or anything, but I was very curious, just out of left field here, if you're comfortable talking about it. Did the trail have anything to do with going and doing law or leaving law? Because I don't know, I feel like sometimes you have this big experience and then you're like, wait a second, what is life and what am I doing? So
No, I mean, I would say not directly, but I think certainly indirectly, my experience on the trail made me feel more confident in taking big chances, and taking, kind of zigging and zagging. And I think you're exactly right. Like, I felt like I kind of like peeked around the corner of like, oh, I could have this like adventurous life, that is not, not the norm. And I had decided to go to law school before I hiked the trail. And so I went to law school and actually liked law school. And, but then I hated being a lawyer. I hated it so much. And so while I was doing that, I started doing stand-up comedy just kind of on the side. And I do think that like having done, this really hard, big experience where I kind of like gave up everything I knew to like go out into the wilderness and, do something, it like really helped me be like, yeah, you can do that again. I mean, if you can give everything up and try something new. And I think I've done that many times now over my life. And for me, that's like the beauty of like taking a leap, like writing this book or doing, deciding to quit my job and become a comedian. Those kind of things are, becoming a parent, moving all over the country. Like that's the big adventure. And that's what is exciting to me. So, and I probably got ruined by the trail. It probably ruined me.
Or saved you. Who knows?
Or saved me. I mean, I like to think it saved me, but
Someone just commented, "Who is this Jane of all trades?"
I know,
oh, it's me, Sally
right?
Brooks. I would say I'm, what is that? The jack of all trades, master of none, or like, but I do have a lot of interest, and I think I'm just like I don't have that thing where I worry if I'm good at something or not. I just try it. And I think that's because when I started hiking, I was not in shape. I was not like a athlete, I just like went and did it. And I found out that like, oh, if you just keep trying at something, a lot of times, like, you probably get through it. You'll definitely get better, and you'll definitely get something out of it. You'll definitely learn something about yourself. So yeah, I'm also like,
got a
I'm
really
just
good question for you. Got a good question for you
Okay.
that Ben McMillan just posted. He said, "What was
Okay.
scarier, first night in the woods, first time pooping in the woods, or first time stepping on stage?"
Oh, that's interesting. I definitely first time stepping on stage, I think, because stand up, you're by yourself. I was with my best friend sleeping in the woods and pooping. So, I mean, not together exactly, but I knew she was there.
Yeah. You're good. You're good. You're good.
That was a great question. I want to follow up with it.
Okay.
So this is our show. We're allowed to talk about anything we want, and we're going to talk about stand up for just a second.
Okay.
If that's okay with you.
Yes.
So first, quick question. What type of law did you practice?
So I worked for a federal judge. So I did a lot of like employment law. And then I always say it's like drugs and guns. So it's all like federal criminals, and then employment law was what I did.
Wow.
Yeah. I didn't practice for very long. I was only a couple years before I realized it was not for me. And took the safe exit of comedy. I bait and switched my husband. I was like, hey, you're marrying a lawyer. And then I was like, you know what? Actually, never mind.
I don't think I want to do this anymore. No, the marriage is good. It's the law. It's the law stuff. I still want to be married.
Yeah.
Just, it's not the law stuff.
But just not the law.
Not the law stuff.
Well, you went to stand up, and I'm a huge fan of stand up comedy. I have no interest in doing it. I do get to have a little fun, tell some jokes and stuff. I'm a high school teacher, and
okay. Oh, you're probably everybody's hero, right? You're like the fun high school teacher. That's the best audience.
I comes in looking like that, so that should tell you something.
Well, when I ride my bike to school, I have a little motorcycle. I was telling John earlier that when I ride my motorcycle to school, I wear my headband because the helmet messes up your hair. You got to keep it safe. Wear the helmet.
Don't mind, like dying. That's not a big deal.
You got to worry about the hair. So anyway, I'm really curious about stand up, and I feel like everybody, this could be rose colored glasses for me, but I feel like most people have been pretty exposed to it. You know, even it like on Netflix, there's huge comedy specials. It's
Mhm.
on YouTube. And I don't know what year you started, but I would love a little peek behind the curtain of what the real world looks like, because I hear all kinds of horror comedy stories, especially when you first start. You know, you're
Yeah.
stuck between two 500-pound people riding on an airplane to a gig that doesn't pay any money, and you're sleeping in a bed, and there's can't afford anything but a motel with roaches, and you know you've bought a loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter for your meal for the week. I would love to hear firsthand what that world actually looks
I
like.
think you just told everybody what that world is, Jeremiah.
I was like, you nailed it. Although I will say that like you describing being on an airplane, I'm like, who got this gig when they were starting out? That takes years to get to get
Oh,
on the airplane between two people. Like that is actually get a paying gig. It takes years. No, it's it is I think there are people who are like very lucky or very, very talented. That is a very few amount of people who like right away find success, or they hit big on TikTok and whatever. But I mean, I've been doing this for over 15 years, and it is really it takes a long time to get good at, and it is very hard to make a living. And in that way, it is kind of like hiking, where it's just like people, if you can stick with it and just keep going, you are going to be miserable at first, but if you can keep going, it's worth it, as you go. And you always have like the moments of where you can see the beauty on the horizon, right? You get up to that big view, you get the big laugh, and then you bomb 15 times after that. It's one of those things where it's like everybody says, and I totally agree with this, it's like if you can do anything else, if you are able to do anything else, do it. But if you have to do stand up, then great, then you are in, and it's for you. But it can be a labor of love, and it can be a lot of rejection, and it can be a lot of being uncomfortable. But the truth is that there's nothing like standing in front of an audience and making a whole room laugh at something that you thought of. So, I mean, that part is addictive for sure.
Well, I have to let you know you've done that tonight, because there is a thread of comments going through right now that I have to highlight for you.
Okay.
Like it
What did
started
they
out
say?
with the Indian name thing. They said John's made up Indian trail name has always been the same for everyone, Thunder and Cloud.
Okay.
Then someone made the comment the most common Indian name for 2024 is Haktua.
Oh, that girl.
But then it came around to your comment where you mentioned that you pooped in the woods with your friend.
Mhm.
So here it comes, Sally.
I'm ready.
You weren't alone pooping? Double poop hammock?
Don't you know that's what women are doing when they go to the bathroom together? Have you not heard that before? Is that
apparently? Because the next comment was, do you hold hands in the 2-person hammock? And then it was, is it side by side or back to back?
Oh God, please say side by side. Please say side by side. Back to back is not, I can't. That's too much.
And this is the last one. It says, holding hands is the best. At least that's what I keep telling my wife. So,
Ruben, I hope you get a side by side toilet in your future.
I really do too. Now there were some actual serious comments that I think we ought to bring up for you though. Woods All Trail said, Sally, you are 100% correct. Backpacking has really shown the tenacity a person can have. And then wait, I didn't read this one. So you're implying that stand up is harder because you had to do by yourself. Does that mean you went pooping with somebody else?
Yes,
every time. Now for the fun questions. Now for the fun questions. Besides the comment that Ben thinks that Jeremiah has been stalking you, that's. I just read the comments, Jeremiah. That's my job. Jeff Peters has a question. Who was the biggest comedy name that you have met or shared the stage with?
Oh, I think lots of people. I know he's huge right now, but I worked with him a bunch when we were both coming up. Was Nate Bargatze, and back in when we were just in little clubs, and now he's like selling out multiple theaters every night. Kind of for old school people, I worked with Mark Maron. I opened for him. Tom Green and
Really?
yeah, and it was amazing. Can I tell you that like he was the nicest person. He
Well, he's
every
Canadian.
single he's Canadian. His
Hey,
parents came, and if you were like a old school Tom Green fan, like his parents were part of his show, and so
Oh
that was
yeah.
exciting. And they were the nicest people. In every show, the entire audience standing applause. They loved him so much, no matter what he did. And then he would do his set and whatever, and then at the end, standing ovation. And then every single person would wait in line to take a picture with him, and he would wait for every single person and take a picture and talk to them. And he
Wow.
was just the most gracious person. So yeah, lots of big comedy names. It depends on if you're into, stand up or not. But those are some of the biggest for sure.
That's awesome.
wow.
Yeah.
Great question.
That's awesome.
Name drop them. I like it.
Yeah.
Oh, and
name
just by the
drop.
way, and by the way, Ruben heard you saying that you hope he gets a toilet side by side. He says he
Uh-huh.
keeps asking for one, but she still says no.
Oh, Ruben,
Oh,
I'm
Mom.
sorry.
Yeah.
you gotta do something real nice for that woman.
Yeah.
If you want to get a side by side toilet.
Yep.
This is we have a little bit here on the show, but it's a real product. I won't exhaust everybody by going into deep detail because we've talked about it a lot. But are you familiar with the poop hammock?
No, is this a real thing?
It
This
exists.
is a real thing. Yes, it's called the Porta Privy. We're still not sponsored. I mean,
I know we've probably gotten him more sales than anybody ever.
Yes,
and
dude.
And
we've
we've
not
come
seen
up
a
with a
penny
new
of it.
product for him. Double poop hammock
Yeah,
for the
double-
ladies.
It's for the ladies.
You know
There
what?
is a question about that though. Can you share the same cat hole with the 2-person poop hammock?
I mean, I wish I knew what this thing was. I
Depends
need
on
a
the
visual. Can you pull it
Well,
up?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Give me a
I'm
minute.
like,
Give me a minute.
have all sorts of like fancy things. Pull it up for me.
Oh, I will.
Yeah, John,
Give me a
he'll-
second. I'll find it for you.
He'll pull it up, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. Like I said, I won't go too in depth here, but basically, you've seen the hammock chairs. It's like a little swing that you sit in. Two
Yes.
trees that are about shoulder length apart. Well,
Okay.
it's that, but it's got a hole in the middle, about the size of a
Mhm.
like a toilet, where the seat is cut out.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, one of my buddies, he lives up in Michigan, Thomas. He invented this, and then he gave me one at a hammock hang that we were both at. And yeah,
Okay.
can you zoom in there, John? Is
I
that
can't
Wow.
really. I can't. It won't zoom in, but
okay? Maybe scroll down a
right.
little bit.
let me see if I can.
Oof.
Oh, there you go.
Why?
So you don't have to squat. Now, remember, this is not for the thru hiker. Whenever you're thru hiking, you probably are not wanting to take this extra 5 or 6 ounces or whatever it is. But if you are
Yeah.
going out, like, sometimes we go out and you just hike 2 miles out in the winter time, and you take a steak with you, and you set this up for your lady, and she can pee, or you can take it and poop. But or maybe you're not as mobile, you can't squat, and you got a disability or limited mobility, and this right here is the product for you. That's right. I can sell cat turds to a dog, son. I'm telling you. We'll buy one after the show.
Here's the thing, Sally.
I just don't know that I want to be swinging
He's
while
used it. He's
You don't
used it.
have to.
You used it.
He's used it.
Okay. All
Like
right.
I own one. I've not used it, but
Yeah.
Yeah, and
he's used it.
I've used it many times. Yeah, and
Right.
if you
Do
want
we
to
not,
carry that,
or is it not like, are we not like holding on to trees and squatting down anymore? Is that not a,
you don't
No.
have to. This is
I mean-
2024. You can just
why
sit.
do that?
it's 2024. We've got,
Why do
We got
that?
cell phones. We
Oh.
got portable toilets. Yeah. Anyway, we'll get back to your regular programming here. I got a couple
I
other
feel like this
questions.
is the regular programming.
Oh wow, you're not gonna believe this one. We just got the best comment ever. I think my husband and I would be the perfect test subjects for a dual poop hammock. We are ready and willing.
All right. I love that. I love that.
Rachel Jean, the Gypsy Queen.
All right, you tell your friend, but
Wow.
make sure we get a cut.
My wife
Everybody
would have
on this,
nothing to do with
everybody in
that.
the live chat, let's get a cut. I mean, I'm not doing it. I don't want to do it with my husband.
My wife won't even talk to me on the phone when I'm pooping. So
we all
see.
want privacy.
she just won't even
I
do
have
it.
the other. I have the like opposite. Like I'm the one who has the door open. My husband is like, shut the door. Shut the door. I'm like, what? But what's wrong? We're chatting.
Let me ask y'all a question.
I just
If
can't wait
you're
till
on a call,
Jeremiah's kid gets a little older and he finally gets to
Oh,
experience the kid leaving the door open, pulling his pants down halfway down the hallway with his
yeah.
friends over.
Yeah.
Because that's
what?
coming, Jeremiah. Get ready. That day's
Mhm.
coming.
Yeah, your privacy is over.
It's gone. It's gone.
It's a thing of the past. So enjoy it
Well,
now.
I'll try. Let me ask y'all a question on this subject. If you're on a phone call and you're pooping,
Mm.
do you mute during sound and then you unmute, you talk, and then you remute?
I do not like to talk on the phone at all, so I would never talk on the phone while I'm pooping, and that's nothing to do with like the grossness of it. I just hate being on the phone. So that's my answer. But I
My
would say courtesy mute.
my
You
best friend in the
courtesy mute.
world, Adam. My best friend in the world, Adam. If he calls me, I'm pooping. He
Every
has
He
like a
just
time.
sixth
knows.
sense.
He
He
has
has
a
like this
yeah.
sixth sense where he knows John's pooping. I think I should call him now.
Yeah.
And so I talk to Adam like at least twice a week while I'm pooping because that's when he calls every single time. I don't
And
know
does he
how it's even
know?
possible. Yeah, he knows. I tell
Yeah.
him
You tell
I
him
tell him
every time.
every single time because after the fifth phone call, I finally was like, dude, do you realize that every time you call me, I'm pooping? And he goes, what are you talking about? I was like, I'm pooping right now. And the last 5 times you called me, I've been pooping. And then every time he calls, I just go, your timing's perfect. And he knows exactly what's happening.
Well, I might have missed this, but do you mute or no mute?
No mute.
No mute. Doesn't matter who you're on the phone with.
Well, I mean, it depends. I mean, I'll talk to everybody else on the phone when I poop, but Adam at this point, I'm going to talk to him because that's every time he calls me. So
Yeah. If you want to
now
talk
it's just
to him.
it's kind of what we built our friendship around, you know?
Yeah.
I
Let
mean,
me
not
ask,
really, but you know.
is he also pooping?
No, typically
Oh,
no. It's
yes.
just me. It's just me.
Because that's like a long distance double poop.
You
Long
know
distance poop.
Oh,
that is.
Mhm.
Wow, good callback.
That's
Nice. That's talent right there.
that's deep. I mean, that's really deep. That's philosophical right there.
That's when you know you're best friends.
Oh,
That's how you know.
nailed it. Nailed it. We need to get back to this book,
All right.
Jeremiah. We need to get back to this book.
Mhm.
All right, I do have another question for you. So we were talking about
Okay.
shelters earlier, and
Yeah.
I also mentioned, yes, again, I did hike the long trail, and yes, I'm seeing your all's
Oh, I heard
comments.
that.
Yeah, everyone's heard. I saw the comment, John, about the trail journal. People were the first ones to know I hiked the long trail. So I saw.
Listen, I
I'm
mean, I can't say anything about you talking about I hiked the AT 21 years ago and I wrote a book about it and I'm still talking about it. So, you know, it's like I can't
represent.
you got I mean
I like it. We both just own it. And here's my
I
question for you.
bet you all of our listeners could write a book about Jeremiah's trip on the long trail after all the contents he's made on our podcast.
I would love to see that. Each person write a chapter, see if they line up.
Well, I'll tell you a little insight. The one reason that they might not love that I'm talking about hiking the long trail is I actually have videoed the experience. And then I produced 2
Okay.
videos of the experience and then did not finish the production. So
Yeah, he made this big promise, huge promise that he's going to do all of these
Yeah.
long trail videos and recorded every one of them and then
Mhm.
never
recorded
released them.
And you know what? I still have another 14 years to make those videos.
That's exactly
Right
right.
along Sally's timeline, baby. I still have 14 more years.
And then they'll be vintage. They'll be like, look at this found footage.
Yes.
This
And
is
then at
so
that point, people will be
cool."
like, who is this guy?
They're like, why is he filming on a potato?
How many people have
Everything's-
hiked that trail now? Like that, you know?
So anyway, what I was going to say is the shelters. I found that the social aspect of the shelters and not having to set up my tent, like it
Mhm.
only took me a few nights to be like, oh, these people are cool, and
Mm.
I can just hang out for longer and just chill in the shelter with them, and swap the war stories of the day.
Yeah.
and not have to set up my tent and not have to pack it up if it rains, etc. And I was reading in your book, and it seemed to me, I cannot confirm, but it seemed to me that you slept in a shelter a lot. Can you confirm? And if so,
I can.
why?
I can confirm. I can confirm. Well,
Okay.
so we were, we were so far, we were early hikers. So we all like never had a full shelter, which I know is very rare for the AT, especially if you start. I mean, even the year we hiked, it was full shelters if you started in March. So, there was always a place, and there's water there, and it's a good stopping point. There's usually a privy, I mean, it's like has all the things. It has a fire ring. So we probably, I mean, towards the end of our hike, we even sent our tents home. We just didn't even have them. We had the bug bivy and like a tarp between us, and we used that maybe twice. But otherwise, we were in the shelters every night. I don't think I would do that if it was a super crowded situation. I don't think I would have wanted to do that as much, but like as it was, a lot of times we had the shelters to ourselves, like our little group of friends. So yeah, it
Well,
was pretty,
one-
pretty cool.
something I find fascinating is sending the tent slash, well, I guess you said tent, and you had the bivy and
Mhm.
tarp. So you had
Yeah.
a backup in case of emergency. But
Yeah.
one thing I found fascinating is sending that home because, again, while I was on the long trail, I know, I know, while I was on the long trail, there's a couple of girls that coincidentally one of our trail family members went to school with, like high school, and
Oh,
one of
okay.
them randomly, serendipitously, we just bumped into them on trail, and we hiked with them for a couple weeks, and we called them the clean ones because they had a change of clothes every day, and I mean, they had deodorant. Their
How
family would hike in stuff to them like sandwiches,
Oh,
and
okay.
I was like, well, they had a big support network. I was out there and I was like, man, the last town I didn't take a shower in. I just had time to wash my laundry. It's been 10 days. I haven't showered. Smell
Chafing
awful.
like a
And
madman.
I look like
Mm,
this. Yeah, it's a bad situation, from the through hiking days. But my point is these girls did not have a shelter system. And I was like,
mm.
where do y'all sleep? And they said, we always sleep in the shelters. And I was just fascinated by that because I was like, these girls are going to die. They're going to get out here. They're going to get lost somewhere. And because these are like yuppie girls. These are not like,
Yeah.
they're not like, it's not the AT, it's hard to get lost sometimes, I think, because
Hmm.
it's like a highway, and, they were probably pretty safe, but I was like, these girls are going to get lost, and then they don't have a tent or anything to set up in case of emergency. So if they don't make it
Yeah.
to the shelter, they're going to have to keep walking until they reach the shelter, or they're just going to have to hunker down for the night and try to get rescue or something. So I am fascinated by you sending your shelter home. Do you think
Everybody we hiked with did. Like, I mean, we were
really?
among the few people who um had the like bivy and we had like a bug bivy and a tarp, but that was like we were the only ones. Everybody else didn't have anything. Everybody was just like, we're gonna shed weight. There's enough shelters along the way. We can hike as much as we want, and if not, I mean, a couple times in the whites, we just like threw down on the trail and just slept right on the trail. But yeah, I mean, we got lucky. You're right. We did get lucky that we didn't have any like extreme weather. But I also think on the AT, you're never really above tree line that long, so you're not
Mhm.
super in danger of, getting of the weather, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, that was just like everybody kind of did it, and we were like, "Oh yeah, we don't want to carry this much weight anymore." You get
Well,
very careless after you've been out on the trail for a couple months. You're just like, "Yeah, we are,
sure.
we are invincible."
Yeah, well,
So
you feel like you have it figured out. You're like, "Okay, yes,
yeah,
tomorrow's gonna be the same as yesterday." We're gonna
yeah,
get up, eat breakfast, walk to the next shelter, maybe poop, maybe not,
hmm
keep walking, eat lunch somewhere, meet at the
yeah.
shelter for the night.
And you
It's
just
like
know,
working a
like,
job.
yeah. And I mean, we could hike as long and far as we needed to. And we were, in good enough shape. And we just knew that, like, we had hiked in really bad weather. It was rained the entire time we were on the trail. Not the entire time, that's hyperbole, but it was a very rainy year. And so we were used to walking in weather, and we just kind of, you know, Just
moving.
took the chance. Yeah.
I
But
mean,
we
that's
did
what
not have changes of clothes. We were not clean ones. We did not have support out there. We were disgusting.
yeah, but that's part of it, right? I mean, that's
Yeah, I
you
can't
embrace the
imagine.
suck. You embrace the suck and you move on.
Yeah. You know, you think when you see day hikers coming past you and they smell so fresh and you're just like, ugh, gross.
Okay,
You
so
haven't earned this.
so I went hiking with a buddy of mine back in
Mhm.
2016. We went and did McAfee Knob, and
Oh, yeah,
so
lovely.
we were the day hikers, right?
Yeah.
Which that hike's kind of awful. And it was like 95 degrees outside. So we're
Yeah.
hiking up this thing and we get to the top and there's this guy there with, I swear that was a 100-liter backpack. I mean, this thing
Mhm.
was massive. Like I would love to meet him today and be like, dude, let me help you make this better for your life.
Right.
But so he had this huge backpack on, and I remember walking by, and I've never experienced a thru hiker at this point, like as far as like
Mm.
one who was actually like deep in it. And so he walks by, and the smell,
Yeah.
holy cow! And so we get down the hill, and or we get down the mountain, and we're getting ready to get in our truck, and he comes walking across the street, and he starts hitchhiking. And so me and my buddy Tim were like, "Hey, come here. What do you need a ride somewhere?" He's, "Yeah, I need a ride to the post office to get something." We're like, "Okay, jump on in." So so he threw his backpack in the back of the
Yeah.
truck and then jumped in with us. And it took me a week and a half to get that smell out of my truck.
I was
He
gonna
was in there
say,
for like
how
10
long did it
minutes.
take? Yeah, I mean, it's like, and you don't even notice. Like, you don't notice yourself after a while. You don't notice the people around you. You're just like, yeah, it's whatever. Until you get into a town and you take a shower, and then you're like, oh my God, my bag is disgusting. You're like, oh, that is what I've smelled like.
Yeah,
That's what I smell like.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you
exactly.
leave, when you have all your stuff in a hotel room, or in my
Mm.
case, a motel room,
Oh
and
yeah,
you
definitely
leave it
motel
all
room.
in there. Yeah, lots of motel rooms through hiking.
Yeah.
You take a shower, you like start the laundry or whatever, and your stuff is just like laying in the room, and then you go get Chinese food or whatever, and then you
Hmm.
come back and you open the door and you smell it, and you're clean
Yeah.
at the time, and you're just like, "Oh, man." That's why I've always felt so bad hitchhiking, and I hitchhiked a lot,
Yeah.
Yep.
and sometimes you had to talk people into, picking you up, but I just I remember whenever we were in the car on the way back home, one of my trail family people that I just met on trail, I was riding back with his dad and him and, another guy that we were on the trail with, and his dad we hadn't showered at that point, probably 8 days or so, and his dad, I remember it was, like, cold, and
He was
it
like
was, like, the
windows
beginning of
down,
summer. He had the windows down the entire it was like a
his
four-hour
head out
drive.
the window.
Oh man.
Yes, for
Oh
4 hours,
Yeah.
and I'm sitting in the back seat, and I'm like, Come on, man, can you roll the window up?" And he's like, "No, y'all smell terrible." And I've told this story on here before,
I
but
love that
his
story every time.
his mom wouldn't let me in the house until her son I was spending the night there. She wouldn't let me come in the
Yeah.
house until her son was done in the shower, and then she made me go directly to the shower.
Did she
I
burn
mean,
your clothes?
she
It's like,
let
is
me
it?
wash my clothes, and I took them off and
Yeah.
changed clothes, and I tried to give them to her, and she said, "No, washing machine's this way." She took me to the basement and had me throw them in the washing machine. Would not touch them. Yeah.
That's a
Shout
smart
out to
woman.
Birdie's mom.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so we are at the point in the show.
Okay.
I warned you about this previous to the show starting, but
Yes.
you didn't even like blink when I brought it up. And what I'm
No, I was like,
surprised
I'm
by
ready for
is
this. I've trained for this.
everybody, usually we have comments of people asking when this is going to happen, but I think everybody just
Yeah.
knows it's coming. You're an Appalachian Trail thru hiker. What is your favorite poop story?
Okay. Well, I have two, but I think I'm gonna go to one. So when we were in Shenandoah National Park, like there was so much, you're eating more like town because there's so many stores. So we're eating more like town food. So there was a lot of pooping happening. And my best friend Erin, we were the very last day we were in Shenandoah. I was coming down a trail and we didn't realize it was a weekend, right? So there was, and of course, it's like one of the most populated places in the park. We were right by a road. We didn't know any of this. So I'm coming down the trail. I see her ducking, like squatting behind a rock that is like, maybe this big. Like it's not covering her at all. It is right off the trail. And I have headphones on, but I'm not listening to anything. So she's squatting behind the trail. She's obviously like pants down. She is pooping. And I'll say this, I won't say the word that she said, but she said, she looks at me and yells. She goes, "My butt is exploding." And that's what she yells to me. And I'm coming down the trail. And as she's yelling, "My butt is exploding," a family with 2 small children are walking up the trail. And they look horrified because they can clearly see her and hear what she's saying and probably smell what's happening. And then so they walk by and the mom looks at her and Aaron just goes, "What?" What? And then after the family, then a hot guy walks by and
all of a sudden she's like, going, "Oh, what?"
Oh no. She was like, I couldn't make it. I couldn't make it anywhere else. There was nowhere else to go. I was like, it's okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Would you like to hear the other one? Do you have time for the second?
Yes,
go ahead.
Okay, this was also Aaron. And I swear, like, I also had some very I had my own poop stories, but these are my 2 favorite ones. So we're in Shenandoah. We're at a wayside, so we're getting like hamburgers, and they have like a little camp store. And she comes out of the bathroom and she just leans into me and she's like, "Don't go in there," And I was like, "Oh, what happened?" She's like, "Somebody stopped it up." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I know who that is." So we finish eating and then we go to check out. And when we see the bathroom, and it now has a caution sign, it had caution tape across it. And the 2 people that are working at the camp store are talking to each other as we're like checking out. And the one guy goes, "Oh my God, it was like a baby's arm." It was so big. And Erin just turned to me and she goes, "It's not every day you hear somebody talking about your poop in front of you. Is it bad that I'm proud?" I was like, "No, baby's arm is something to be proud of." So
It was
there you
like
go.
a baby's arm.
A baby's arm. A baby's arm. I was like, "Dude, what did you do?" She was like,
Wow.
There's something about trail life. It just
Mhm.
shifts your brain. I don't know what it is. You just become desensitized to the
Well,
poop
because
talk.
everybody knows when everybody's doing it. I mean, it's not like you can sneak off. It's not like you can be subtle about. I mean, it's like, it's happening. Everybody knows when, like, you go off how long you've been gone and what you're doing. And yeah, it is the most. I really am like so I don't, poop talk is fine with me. It doesn't phase me in the least
Well,
bit. I forget that not everybody is like that.
and honestly,
So I appreciate you guys letting me tell my story.
Well, I think it prepares you for parenthood. Because once you have kids, the poop talk's coming. You got no choice around that one. That's happening.
It's coming. You're dealing with a lot of it.
Yeah. So Jeff Peters just commented. He said, "Baby's arm and exploding butt is the same person." Classic.
It's the same person.
It's the same person.
That's Erin. She's hilarious. She's a doctor. I will say that now. She is a doctor. So.
Loforex goes, "Can we get Erin's number?"
Yes, you guys would love her.
I do have. I have one more quick question for you.
Okay.
This is another little behind the scenes that I'm very curious about. I can't let you go without asking this question. I'm not sure everybody else will think it's very exciting, but I'm always curious how much you have to change the truth whenever you do a book. And I think the number one way that people change it is typically respecting people's privacy by changing names. So my question is, how many times did you have to scratch out the name and change it in the book to be able to tell the stories that you've told?
So I changed just a couple names. Anybody that
Ooh.
I changed the name of uh, a boyfriend that I had when I started the trail. I changed his name because he didn't ask to be written about, and I'm not still in touch with him. So I felt like that was respectful, even though, anybody who knows me and him at the time would know who it's him. And then I changed the trail names of people that I didn't have like positive interactions with because I wanted to be truthful, but I also didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. So, I would just figured, because there's the people who like, they were oblivious. And at the time we were like rolling our eyes because it was like a guy who was like a real gearhead, and we thought we were cooler than him. And so I don't want, what if he picks up this book and is like 20 years later and finds his trail name and is like, oh my God, somebody thought that about me. So that was, otherwise also having trail names makes it easier to not have to change people's names because it's pretty anonymous. And I think, it's a pretty lighthearted memoir. I don't think I'm hurting too many feelings in it, but I did, if I don't still know the person and I didn't have a positive interaction, I changed their names.
Wonderful. You're
Yeah.
not nice.
You're like, I would name names.
We were talking about name dropping earlier, and you were like, these were good people. I named dropped the bad ones, baby. You got to let them know. The bad guy.
Nice. Well, let me ask you a question. Where can people find you? Like, with you being a comedian, I'm sure there's a lot of YouTube videos. There's a lot of stuff that you want people to get to see. How they can order the book that comes out tomorrow. So that they can get their hands on that as well. Why don't you just kind of share with us all the info you can?
Yeah. So One Stop Shop is my website, sallychaffinbrooks.com. You can find links to the book. I also have 2 comedy albums, and those are both linked there, but you can stream those on Spotify if you're on Spotify. You can find lots of clips out there if you Google me, and I go on my comedy, but in comedy I go, it's just Sally Brooks. And if you're on the social media, I'm usually active on Instagram at the Sally Brooks or TikTok at the Sally Brooks. But if you would like to order the book, Amazon's a great place, bookshop.org. It is available in paperback, e-reader, and audiobook. So take your pick, or get all of them. I mean, get them for your family, your friends.
Yeah. Like, Christmas is coming up, people. Christmas is coming up. Presents for everybody.
Yeah. Exactly. You guys are hiker people. Get out there.
Mama's got to quit eating peanut butter sandwiches and feed her babies. Come on, let's go.
Exactly.
Well, it's been awesome having you on here. In all seriousness, it's been fantastic.
Yeah. I apologize if I overdid. I feel like I veered us into poop territory, and it feels like people appreciate it. So
listen. On this podcast, if you don't do that, I think you found your people. I think you found your people because they love this. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Chicken awesome. Little ask, do you have an audio book available, by the way? Speaking of the book.
I do, yeah. So it's available on Audible, iTunes, and Amazon. The audiobook is. So, and I narrated it. So if you like this voice, get used to it. You're going to hear it a lot. So
Vincent already says pre-ordered on Amazon. So
thank you.
Hopefully we'll get a lot of those. We'll get a lot of those for you.
Yeah.
So if you're listening or watching, we will be putting a link to Sally's website in the description, so you guys can get on there and go download lots of stuff, buy books, buy merch, watch videos, get her playing in the amphitheaters and the stadiums. We need to start doing we need a Sally Brooks stadium show is what we need.
Let's get up, let's make it happen. Like, this is the year, right?
It's happening. This is the year.
And it started here.
Right here.
We're calling it the Double Hammock Poop Tour. We're getting out there.
I mean, Joe Rogan, like we say it all the time, Joe Rogan always calls us for advice. And so we're here for him. So we'll be here for you as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it, because Joe Rogan and I are the same.
Yeah. I mean, I figured you guys were tight. So
yeah.
Well, Sally, thank you so much for being on the show. And we're going to ask you to hang out in the green room so we can chat with you for a few minutes afterwards. But we're we're going to wrap this thing up. But thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who is here. You guys were so much fun. I appreciate it.
Jeremiah. Awesome.
All right, man.
Awesome stuff, man. Awesome stuff.
What a great kickoff to the 7th season of the Backpacking Podcast and live streams every Monday night. Again, here we are, folks.
Lucky number 7, and we got lucky with a great guest. I mean, you can't get any better than that. Can't get any better than that. Although the comments, Jeremiah, we have 7 comments to end the first episode of season 7. Would you like to hear them?
Yeah, let's hear a couple comments here.
So somebody wants to start up the Backpacking Poop Team's FaceTime group.
I was going to ask her. She says, not on the phone. She won't poop and talk on the phone, but I was wondering, does she FaceTime?
I would say probably.
Yeah.
I would say probably. I would say if there was one thing it's probably true, it's probably that. That would be my guess.
What else you got?
It says, John and Jeremiah, any future with a Patreon? We've looked at it.
Well, yes. Yeah, probably not, but who knows? I don't know. Maybe it would give you a way to give me money, and I do like money. So
I appreciate money. Money's good. Money's good. This one's really hilarious. Jeremiah or John releasing an independent YouTube video? Nah. Now listen, Jeremiah releases videos. I'm the one who doesn't release videos anymore. Now that's changing though.
How is it changing?
There's something there.
Oh, what? Oh, he's got.
That's all I'm doing. That's all I'm doing. There's a
video
cut. There's videos coming. I'm coming back. I promise. I'm coming back.
I have a video coming out at the beginning of October.
Yeah.
So get on it.
Yeah, and then Low4X was feeling sorry for you because we were picking on you so much. He said, I enjoy Jeremiah. Am I watching the wrong show?
Hey, that's what's up, man.
And then Jeff Peters just simply said, we only pick on the ones we love, Low4X.
That's right. Represent Jeff. Yep.
Now, somebody did ask the question, where can I get a JK beanie? And so I responded with this.
Oh, you put it in the chat?
There is a hyperlink there. If you want to buy my beanie, it exists. Go get one and give me your money. I think it'd be great. And then, of course, Ruben then says, dang, don't know how I missed the JK beanie, but it's ordered. It's not wool, but still got to get it. So there you go.
Maybe my next winter hat, man.
I'm telling you, everybody needs to get their hands on one. But the reason I'm bringing that up isn't because I'm trying to sell my merchandise, although if you want to buy it, please do. It's the fact that next week, mark it down. I said before summer was over. Summer ends on September 21st. Okay?
Okay.
Next Monday, we'll be releasing our first ever Backpacking Podcast t-shirt.
Oh my!
So be tuned in next week, and get this. I'm making another statement here. Every month leading up to Christmas, we'll be adding a new design. So there'll be one September, October, November, and December. So we're gonna have 4 different designs just in time for you to order one for your loved ones for the special Happy Ho Ho Day.
Oh, that's fantastic news, man! I wish you would have told me. I would have used my drum roll button.
Oh man, it's so much fun. So much fun.
Do you want me to say who our guests are next week?
Please do. Please do.
Okay. All Things Outdoors, Jeremy, as well as our beloved photographer, David Gray.
David Gray.
I'll give you a 5-second teaser. They went out west. They came back with some great stories. You'll hear it here first.
Yep, and some killer footage of taking a Bronco up into the mountains of Colorado.
Can't wait to hang out with them.
Beautiful,
man.
beautiful.
It's going to be a great season. Here we are.
Absolutely. So thank you guys for tuning in to the first episode of Season 7 of the Backpacking Podcast. For myself and Jeremiah, we will catch you guys on the next one.
Adios, folks.